Yay!
Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. Wow, all the way in Brazil. Damn. Never
Yeah.
been. So this is the closest that I get to Brazil and my fans there. So thank you. I'm so excited.
Ela está muito feliz, muito animada. Diz que ela nunca veio ao Brasil, então é o mais perto que ela já chegou de ter contato com os fãs dela aqui.
Oba.
You guys have the
Right.
best beaches. Your nature, your beaches, and the, I mean, it's gorgeous. So I can't wait to visit one day. I almost flew to Bahia when I was like 16 years old, but I didn't realize I needed a visa because at a time, like I was Ukrainian, so I got stopped at the border.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, but did you leave your country?
No, I did not. No, they literally said, "Well, you need a visa to go." Actually, at the time I was in US. I was working at Denver. I was taking classes at a Denver ballet company. So I was like kind of staying over there for 3 months, and then I had a boyfriend, Brazilian boyfriend. My first boyfriend ever was Brazilian from Bahia. So I was gonna go visit him from US, from Denver, Colorado, and I realized I needed a visa. So I got stopped at the border saying, "You can't fly." So I was like, "Oh, really? You need a visa? Oh, okay." So,
Ok.
Yeah.
A gente já começou com histórias hoje.
Sim, sim.
Legal, interessante.
Porque ela contou que uma vez ela quase veio para o Brasil, porque quando ela estava tendo aulas de balé, aos 16 anos em Denver, nos Estados Unidos, ela estava lá há 3 meses e o primeiro namorado dela fora era brasileiro. Então ela teve vontade de visitar ele aqui, só que ela não sabia que ela precisava de um visto. Então ela chegou e ia até o aeroporto, e aí chegou no aeroporto, barraram ela, disse, não, nada, não pode.
Nossa.
Bem interessante.
Yeah.
Gente,
Vai, Faxina.
vamos chegando. Pode mandar suas perguntas. Sejam bem-vindos à nossa live. E quero agradecer a Elizabeth mais uma live aqui, Zé Renato mais uma live. E essa live se transforma num podcast que você vai poder escutar em nosso canal, no Spotify, Deezer, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, em todas as suas mídias digitais. Próxima semana ela vai estar aí ao vivo para você escutar, né? Primeira pergunta para a Natalie. Comente sobre a importância da representatividade feminina da mulher no cinema e o seu poder de influência.
Okay, so Natalie, thank you very much for talking to us. And our first question for you is, can you comment on the importance of like female representation of women in the cinema and its power and influence?
Great question. I think it's changing so rapidly. I think it's a great era to be in right now with everything that's going on. I think females are being given more opportunities, and I'm super grateful for that. Because for once we can actually lead a movie where we play the lead, where we carry on the film and the story, and it's no longer looked at as, oh wow, she's a female and she can't carry the whole franchise or the whole action film or whatever it is that we're portraying. And I feel like we're definitely being supported more right now, and I'm grateful to be during this time because I can create my own content. I can, tell my own stories, and it's no longer being judged, or we're not, no longer being prevented from doing something that we really love. And for once, we've been actually given opportunities, just almost, well, not exactly the same as men, but at least, we can pursue that, and we can push on that, and people will support that more. So I think it's a great time for a female to be able to tell their own stories and to be able to create your own content and your own films.
Nice. Ok, ela disse que está muito feliz, na verdade, de estar sendo de participar do cinema, né, desse mundo da arte neste momento, porque as coisas têm mudado muito rápido atualmente e mudado para melhor, assim, para as mulheres, né? Elas estão recebendo mais oportunidade, aparecendo mais, já estão tendo a oportunidade de liderar e assim, carregar, né, as histórias. Não, elas podem ser protagonistas, não só uma mulher que está ali. E obviamente ainda tem um caminho a ser seguido aí, né? Ainda tem um pouco a melhorar, não gente não tem ainda as mesmas alternativas as mesmas oportunidades que os homens, mas que melhorou muito em relação ao passado. Então, ela realmente se sente muito grata de poder participar desse momento.
E a gente vai falar mais sobre isso daqui a pouco. Gente, nós já recebemos muita gente bonita aqui no canal, né, Faustino, Liz, mas dessa vez a gente caprichou na tela de presente para vocês aí, esse visual. Tá incrível. Agora, Liz, a 2 da nossa pauta, em resumo, de que forma ocorreu a saída dela do país de origem, né, até chegar ao início da carreira em Hollywood.
Okay, so you told us already a little about your adventure in United States, but in short, what's the story of you leaving your home country and until the part where your career starts in Hollywood?
Oh wow, that's it's like a long journey, like everybody else, I think. I was born in Kiev, Ukraine. Originally, I was a ballerina. I followed my mom's steps. She was a ballerina herself as well, and that was my first love. It is still my first love. I love theater. I love performing. I love the audience. I love the lights and just the satisfaction you get after performing an actual, full-on show. And then when I got injured, unfortunately, I had to rethink my career steps and see what else I can do with myself. I graduated. I have a degree in choreography after I moved to London because I actually danced in Bolshoi Ballet for 4 years in Moscow prior to me moving to London. Then I moved to London and I graduated from Royal Ballet School. And that's when I, became a choreographer, and I pursued that career for a bit because of my 2 injuries that I had. I torn both of my ligaments on my ankles, which it's either your knees or your ankles. It's either or. Eventually, your body just kind of takes the toll with all the pressure and all the power that you were putting through it. Putting your body through. So I was like, okay, so what can I do next? And I've always wanted to be an actress when I was younger. But my mom was kind of just listening to me, but not really listening. She was saying, no, it's hard going to Hollywood. It's practically impossible, especially moving from Ukraine straight to Ukraine to Hollywood, not knowing the language. They're all so different, like variables. And of course, the main thing for us, immigrants, like when we move somewhere, especially the United States, the visa problem. And nowadays, it's probably impossible for any of Ukrainians or Americans to get it. Hopefully Ukrainians, but Ukrainians or Russian or Italian or Spanish, Brazilian, you all need a work permit to work in the United States. And that was probably the hardest thing, that anybody that comes from the outside, they'll know what you have to go through and how many years and how long that process is. So of course, my mom was like, that's a long way, unless you get married, that's not gonna happen overnight. And even then, it's still a long process. But once I got injured, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna test the waters and I'm gonna see what happens. So I came to the United States and I first went to American Academy of Dramatic Arts School. And then afterwards I decided to stay and officially joined the Lee Strasberg Theater Institute and stayed there for 2 years, and then got into the Actor Studio, which is an amazing company, amazing place to be if you continuously want to learn and get the education that you want and just constantly grow as an actor. It's probably the best place for any actor, because you become a part of some community, and you take classes for free, and you're putting up plays, scenes, whatever you want, and it's a safe place for an actor to just test your own abilities and go deep into your own instrument and really, really, really understand yourself within. So that kind of that's what really convinced me to stay. Because we were doing a lot of plays and I love theater. So the transition from, my ballet experience into acting and working on stage was not easy, because again, I used to work with my body, and all of a sudden now I'm also working with my speech and my emotional, emotional part of me. But it was close to my heart. So I was like, ooh, I could do this. I mean, there's a lot that I need to still learn. But I really fell in love with it, and I was like, that's definitely the next step for me as in what I want to do. And so officially, it was the love for theater again, for plays and for performing on stage. And hopefully one day I was like, oh, if I get to perform, on Broadway, that would be my wish come true. So that's what made me move to LA.
Okay, and how long did it take, like this whole process?
A long process. Like I said, the hardest part was obviously understanding and then facing the reality of you can't just get, you know, a work permit to work in the United States. Even if you study at school, which I did. I went to, oh my God, I went to so many schools because I love education. I love studying. I love, you know, once I get obsessed with something, and I definitely became obsessed with acting, and I wanted to learn all the techniques, all the methods, all the variables, all the styles, all the things that worked for me then, you know. So I went to different schools. I went to American Academy of Dramatic Arts, where I studied Meisner technique. I went to then Lee Strasberg, where you study method. You know, you've got all these other, you know, techniques that you can just, you learn them, and then you see what works for you, and then you apply it, and then you kind of go, okay, this is what I want to do. But first I had to go through every single school to understand what I was like, what works for me as an actor, you know, because in the end, what matters is the final outcome of what you're performing on stage or in the film. Nobody's really asking you, how did you get there? You know, nobody cares about that. It's what matters is how you make the audience feel, you know, and the things that you make them like feel for the character. So I was like, okay, that's what I like. But it took a long process to actually start working as an actor. So Lee Strasberg was like 2 years, and then Actor Studio, and then I got an OPT training, which is called like a 1 year practical training for whoever comes from the United States. The government allows you to work for a year and try to get as many jobs as you can, and then based on those jobs, you can then reapply for an O1 visa, which is like a extraordinary ability visa in your craft. So you have to prove, you know, to the United States that you are the best at what you do, and they need you, and you know you're definitely a worthy person to be given this work permit so you can work and you know, and be a part of America. So that takes a while, because no matter, like, obviously in a year, how many jobs can you get, and how many people can you know, convinced to give you that opportunity? Not that much. And I remember even my dad gave me a year. He's like, look, if in a year you're not going to be successful Hollywood actress, you're done. And I was like, okay. And after a year, I'm like, nobody knows me. What happened? Like, how long is this going to take? So it's eventually, like, you know, you're realizing that if you're not in love with the craft, and if you're not in it to actually work and get satisfied with all the grittiness that this profession gives you, then you're not in it for the right, you know, for the right things. You're not in it for, you know, becoming famous, or for all the awards, or for all the recognition. You're really in it to satisfy yourself. It's just a job, you know, and you pick it because that's what your passion is for, and that's what you really want to do, because that's what gives you happiness. And if you are not in it for those reasons, then it's not going to work, especially in Hollywood, because there's so many people that come here from all over the world. I mean, when I was at school, I was seeing people changing, like, from here to here, and celebrities from different countries. I mean, we've had like Miss Switzerland, Mr., you know, Italia, famous singers, famous actors from all over the world coming in, and they're like famous. I'm talking about, like, you know, like, people know them, and yet they couldn't succeed here because they didn't have the right approach to understanding that you have to start from scratch. No matter where you go, it's kind of, you have to be humble, and you got to start from scratch. You got to start developing slowly, and getting the people that are in this circle to support you, to say, okay, yes, we will like what she's doing, because no matter what you do in life, it's everything takes time, and it's just step by step to get where you want to get. So for me, to get the O1 visa took a long time. Then eventually I got it, and then I had to decide whether I'm going to stay in the United States while getting my green card, or I'm going to leave the country. In which case I decided to leave because I had a family emergency, and that took almost 4 years to get my green card. Then I could not come back to the United States. So it would take sacrifices. I know people that stay in the United States waiting for their documents to arrive, and that takes sometimes 4 to 6 to 10 years to get it, and then they can't even leave the country. They have to stay within, waiting for those documents. So everybody's got their own story, and it takes their time. For me, it took about, overall, to start actually working as an actor, it took about a good 6-7 years to be recognized, and finally to be given opportunities and to work, and not to think about, oh, do I have my O1 visa? Do I have my, because a lot of the casting directors or producers or directors, they're not even going to give you a shot, because they need to take you, they need to sponsor you, and it takes a lot of money, it takes time, and it takes, effort, and most people don't want to take that. They don't have the time or interest to support you. Like, who are you to do that? They would rather just hire somebody who already has everything in order. So, yeah. And you need to get, obviously, like, letters of, like recommendation letters. I remember when I was getting my green card, I had over 100 recommendation letters. I mean, my file was this big to try and get my after I finally got my O1, like, to get my green card, it was this big. I remember the officer, immigration officer, looked at my file, and he literally put it aside, and I was sitting there from like 8 o'clock in the morning until like 5 p.m. and I was literally his last case, and I came up to him and said, do you know why you were my last case? He said, no, because I've never seen so many documents in my life. So he's like, you'll be my last case, because I cannot go through all of this right now. So yeah, it took a long time, but I'm here now. So
it was quite long. Okay, so 1 minute, I'm going to give back to that.
I know you got to translate all that.
Yes.
Good thing I'm good at note-taking. Ok, então vamos lá, gente. Ela disse que, na verdade, ela começou... foi uma longa jornada. Acho que vocês deduziram essa parte. Mas ela era uma bailarina, desde cedo. Ela queria seguir os passos da mãe dela, né? Então, a mãe dela também dançava balé. Quando ela nasceu em Kiev, ela dançava balé e amava fazer as performances, se apresentar, amava o teatro. E ela chegou a dançar 4 anos em Moscou, no Bolshoi. Só que quando ela acabou se machucando, na verdade, o que acontece muito, né, com dançarinos e atletas profissionais, você sempre tem um problema no joelho ou no tornozelo, e ela falou tudo isso, tá? Não estou incluindo nada meu aqui. Então ela teve, ou você tem problemas no joelho, no tornozelo, e depois disso que ela se machucou, né, ela resolveu ir para Londres, na verdade, e estudar coreografia. E ela menciona, inclusive, depois que ela sempre gostou muito de estudar, então fez vários cursos, várias faculdades, mas enfim, chegou um ponto em que, mesmo depois de estudar coreografia, ela não conseguia mais fazer as performances, né? Exigia muito do corpo dela, que já não estava 100%, e ela parou para pensar o que ela faria em seguida. E falou com a mãe dela sobre, ela sempre quis ser atriz também. Então ela falou com a mãe dela, e a mãe dela assim, ouviu, mas não deu aquele suporte, porque era muito difícil, porque principalmente os ucranianos, russos, americanos tinham aqueles problemas com visto, com conseguir visto, demora anos, às vezes. Ela não sabia o idioma, demora muito tempo para conseguir uma permissão de trabalho, mesmo se você for um estudante, tipo, for com visto de estudo, às vezes é complicado. Mas ela quis, mesmo assim. Então, ela entrou na Academia Americana de Artes Dramáticas. Estudou bastante. E aí, depois, ela disse que entrou no Open Studio, que é como se fosse uma comunidade de atores. Então, você vai lá e você aprende várias coisas, você trabalha bastante em várias peças, ajuda a produzir, faz toda essa questão. Então, assim, entre várias coisas, né? Ela aprendeu a trabalhar com a fala, aprendeu a trabalhar com as emoções, que era uma coisa que ela não tinha antes, e finalmente ela se mudou para Los Angeles, porque ela continuava amando teatro desde essa questão da bailarina, e ela se mudou para Los Angeles. Ela disse que naquela época o sonho dela era, sei lá, se ela pudesse se apresentar na Broadway, ela seria considerada uma pessoa de sucesso. Foi quando eu perguntei quanto tempo, né? Quanto tempo levou esse processo? E ela contou toda a história aqui, que não foi fácil, que ela estudou bastante, que é difícil conseguir os vistos, e leva, sei lá, 3 anos para uma coisa, mais 2 anos para outra. Então, ela insistiu muito, porque ela realmente gostava daquilo que fazia. Ela viu muita gente, assim, que era muito famosa em outros lugares, e chegou lá e não deu certo, porque você tem que insistir, você tem que bater nas portas certas, então realmente leva esse amor pela profissão também. E no final das contas, e você tem que recomeçar do zero, né? Não importa o quanto você é famoso em outros lugares, você vai para Hollywood e começa do zero. E no fim das contas, isso tudo levou de 6 a 7 anos para ela conseguir a permissão para ficar nos Estados Unidos, porque antes disso, antes de você conseguir essa permissão, né, que é o Green Card, o famoso Green Card, você tem muita dificuldade de conseguir entrar em trabalhos. Se o pessoal te contratar, eles vão ter que financiar a sua estadia e lidar toda a burocracia, então é muito difícil você conseguir ser chamado. Então, assim, todo esse processo dela entrar nos Estados Unidos até ela conseguir ficar, levou bastante tempo.
Sim. Gente, nossa live.
I feel like I just gave a class of like how to come to the United States, like a master class of how to actually come. I probably know every single process of how to do it. No, I definitely do, yeah.
A gente que deu uma aula agora de como entrar nos Estados Unidos e ser atriz.
E uma bela história, uma história que todo mundo acha que é igual no filme. Chega, pede o green card e consegue. Não, é batalhando, é anos, né? Que demora. É você não desistir do seu sonho. Isso é a aula de vida dela.
É verdade. Vai lá, Faustino.
Como você se prepara para as suas personagens, principalmente quando se trata de filmes de ação, que exige muito esforço da sua parte?
Alright, so speaking about professions, how do you prepare for your characters, especially in action movies that like require a lot of physical effort from you?
How do I prepare for action movies? Definitely physicality is a huge factor. My main thing always, I just don't want to get hurt no matter, how many action scenes I got to do. I'm always aware that something can go wrong, because no matter how much you prepare, the variables that, people don't know what they're doing, or they do know what they're doing, but things that change last minute. So I think the main thing for me always is that I physically have to be ready for anything. And then if I'm physically and mentally ready for it, then I'm pretty much not scared of anything. And I'm just, I'm going in for it. Like once I'm on set, like I know I'll do anything and everything, and I'm like 100% in. And then if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, you know what, at least I tried. But I do take time to prepare physically. Like I gotta do, certain classes. I train with my trainer. If it's like hard action movie, which we just finished actually shooting one. I just wrapped like a few days ago, my new action movie that I'm starring in. Can't wait for you guys to see it. It's badass. It's so much action in it. It's crazy. But it has like 9 hand-to-hand fights. And I knew like I just had to have physically, like I had to be ready for that. Of course, like, if you like to shoot one fight, it takes like several days. So you're working pretty much like, physically doing stuff for 12 hours a day. It can be exhausting. And I tend to like lose a lot of weight. I know I have to continue eating because my metabolism like works so fast that I know I'm like, oh my God, I just have to like give myself more and more food and more water. Otherwise I'm just like gonna probably faint. But I do train for about like a month prior to the movie, or at least like I put myself through, enough physical, challenges so that I know like whatever comes on set, like I'm ready for it. And to be honest, I don't think I've had any movie that I've done where unfortunately I did not get hurt. So every movie so far I've done like an action movie, something even small, but something always happens to me. So I'm already aware of that. I'm always like, as long as it's not major, I'm like, well, a little thing like, scratch, or like on one of my first movies, an actress hit me in my face, like on my tooth with a flashlight. Accident, of course, accidents happen, right before I fell into like this, it was in Montenegro. It was a huge submarine tunnel, and I had to fall down into it doing a stunt. And my scene partner literally hit me in the face right before I was falling down. So when I ended up in the submarine tunnel, I realized, and surprisingly, that was my death scene. So I had to pretend like I'm dying and I'm being drowned. And I remember like coming out of the water, and I remember I was like, I could not tell if it was fake blood or my blood, but I was like screaming for my life for real, because I just got hurt. And I was like, am I really hurt? Am I like that good? I could not believe if I'm doing that. And I remember finally when I got out of the water, everybody's looking at me like, is that real blood or fake blood? And they're like, that was great. Meanwhile, I remember I was suffocating and drowning. I had blood gushing from all over my mouth, like everywhere. And eventually, like one of my teeth now it lost feeling. So it's kind of dead. So I broke my tooth.
Oh my God.
My front tooth is not real. Oh yeah, but that's just one accident. But I'm telling you, every single movie so far I've done, something happen. And luckily they're not like major things, but yeah. So you got to be prepared. I don't know how Tom Cruise does it.
No ease.
Like, I mean, I'm sure he's got so many scars, things on him. I mean, you can't go doing those kind of things without getting somewhat, scratched or bruised. I mean, I had bruises everywhere. Luckily, they don't stay long enough, but I do have like scratches, like scars everywhere. So I'm like just pretty right now, but if you strip me down, it's like all kinds of things. But you know what? I love it. It's fun.
Right.
I like physical challenge. It's fun.
Então, gente, ela disse que especialmente para os filmes de ação, ela foca muito na parte física, porque tudo que ela não quer é se machucar no filme. Embora ela fale depois que ela se machucou em todos os filmes que ela fez, ela acaba se machucando, acaba acontecendo alguma coisa. Mas assim, a parte física é a parte principal para ela, porque assim, a partir do momento que o físico está preparado, a mente está preparada também, e ela se doa 100% para o papel. Então, de fato, ela fala que terminou de filmar alguns dias, o último filme dela. E este filme tem 9 cenas de luta, assim, física, sabe? Mão a mão, basicamente. E passava 12 horas por dia filmando, e ela acaba perdendo peso, e tem que comer bastante, tem que tomar bastante água. Então, ela começa o preparo físico para cada filme, pelo menos um mês antes. Então, vai treinar, vai ver se tem alguma habilidade especial que ela precisa, né? Se ela luta corporal, se precisa aprender alguma coisa nova, vai fazer tudo isso, treinar tudo isso. E mesmo assim, ela acaba se machucando, como ela contou a história aí de um filme que ela fez, que a colega de cena dela acertou o rosto dela com uma lanterna, sem querer, obviamente, mas acabou que assim, acabou ficando na cena, porque ela ia ser uma cena que ela ia pular, ia receber esse golpe, ia ser a cena de luta em que a personagem dela acaba morrendo. E chegou no final, ninguém sabia se era sangue falso, se era sangue dela, que tinha água na cena. Ninguém sabia se era sangue falso, se era sangue dela, mas de fato ela se machucou. Ela contou que ela perdeu a sensibilidade em um dos dentes, então um dos dentes da frente dela é falso por causa disso. Mas é isso.
Oh my God.
Tem que se preparar, tem cicatriz e machucado por todo o corpo. E é isso, né? Todo ator de filme de ação, como ela citou o Tom Cruise também, que sabe, com certeza se machuca o tempo todo também, sabe que vai passar por isso.
Muito. Eu vou pular, no caso, a 4, porque como ela falou já naquela primeira pergunta, a resposta, ela falou sobre as diferenças e tal, e para não ficar um assunto assim muito chato, porque assim, eu vejo que ela é igual eu, ela fala muito, né, Liz?
Sim.
Então a gente vai agilizar aqui, eu vou tentar colocar aqui, encaixar 2 em uma, já que ela fala bastante mesmo, e, por exemplo, a 5, Liz, de que maneira chegou até ela a oportunidade de ingressar no elenco de Os Mercenários 3, e já que esse filme, Liz, é cheio de lendas do cinema, quem para ela é referência que ela leva como profissão assim, na carreira dela?
Okay, so I have 2 questions in one, in fact. First one is, how did the opportunity to join the cast of The Expendables 3 come to you? And, these movies filled with legends of cinema, right?
Yeah.
I completely lost the question. Like, filled with,
thank God it's not me.
Yes. it's filled with legends of cinema. Who among these people do you look up to? Like you feel like an inspiration?
I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. There's so I think they're all just amazing actors and legends. So fortunate to have met them, all of them. I mean, I think people come to Hollywood and they're like, oh, if I can bump into, one of those stars, I'll be happy. And here I am. I got this opportunity that I joined the cast of Expendables 3, and I met all of them at the same time, which, it saved me time. I didn't have to go around looking for them. I was like, oh, I just got to meet all of them at once. I was fortunate. Actually, I was shooting that movie where I got hurt. I was shooting in Montenegro, in Serbia, and a movie that I was a part of called Kill a Mermaid. And at a time, that's when they were casting for Expendables 3, and they needed a local actor. And I remember I was like, well, I'm not far away. I'm from Serbia, like Bulgaria. They were shooting in Bulgaria at the time. I was like, that's close enough, right? I mean, I'll just hop in a plane. I'll be there, no problem. I had no idea how far it was. So on my days off, they were like, okay, well, you got to fly in to do to do an audition. And Sylvester Stallone and the producers and the director, Patrick Hughes, were going to look at you because they were looking to play somebody against Mel Gibson to play his wife in the film. And I was like, well, I'll just be there. It's not a problem. And I remember I was like, how bad can it be? Like a couple of hours and that's it. Oh my God, the flight was like, I remember 3 hours, and then the drive by car was another 6 hours. And here I am, like, I mean, I just shot it. I'm shooting a movie, so I'm only having one day off where I need to kind of rest and relax. And no, during that day, I'm like flying in and out. So I remember I came back and they auditioned for it, and then they came back. I came back, continued shooting my film, and then I get a call again, and they're saying again on Sunday, like my day off, you got to fly again. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to fly again. So I had to do that like 3 times to finally Stallone, Sylvester Stallone to finally, approve me. And I was like, okay, great. So now I just got to wait for my day and join the cast and shoot it. No, they had to postpone my part. So I had to stay in Serbia for 2 weeks waiting for them to call me in. I mean, it was a process, but I'm so excited and happy that I did that because, I was so persistent. I was like, no, I'm the best part for this. I'm great. I got to do this, and I'm right here. Like, what's the big deal? No, I spent like 2 weeks in Serbia waiting. Before that, all my days off, I was flying on the plane and staying in this car, realizing that Serbia and Bulgaria are not that close. I was like, come back in VM, like, in Europe, everything's close. No, this wasn't. But it was worth it because when I met everybody, of course, I think my inspiration, probably somebody that I'm looking up to the most is Sylvester Stallone, because he knew exactly what he wanted. He wrote his movie, he wrote Rocky, he took his stand to be in it, to play the lead. He did not take the money, no matter what people offered him. He did not step down from his dream, and he said, no, it's either I'm doing this or this movie's not happening. And I think sometimes that's what you need to do. If you believe in something, you cannot step down from it. You cannot sell your soul, and just take money for it and be like, oh, it's okay. I'll do better on the next one. No, I think if you have a project and you really believe in it, you gotta wait and just go 100% in for it. So once I met him, I realized how powerful human being he is and how creative he is, how just amazing he is, and not just as an actor, but as a mentor. Like, he's a mentor to so many actors, including all those Expendables actors that joined the cast. A lot of actors look up to him because of how powerful he is as a person. He's smart as a producer, as a director, as a writer, and of course as a performer. But then of course it comes Mel Gibson, who I got a chance to work with, and I thought he's just amazing as a director. He's magnificent. I would do anything to get into his mind and to understand how he creates what he creates, because his movies are just next level. They were and they always will be. And everybody else is just again, dream come true to me to work with them. I didn't get to work with all of them in the scene, but at least to meet those actors and to understand their journey and to talk to them. I understood that they all went through their own struggles. They have their own, their own journey that took them to where they are today. And it's not an easy journey. Nobody had, just woken up a big star and said, oh, here I am, I'm a Hollywood star now. No, it all took, sacrifices. It all took, commitment. It all took pain. And eventually you get satisfaction and glory. But still, even today, those actors are still struggling with whatever it is that they're going through, and getting to know them, I realized they're all human beings. And as amazing as they are on screen, there's still people that have their own, problems and issues. And, they're all going through things and they just want support and love. And yeah, and I think just talking to all of them, like Antonio Banderas and Wesley Snipes, who I became close friends with, just did another movie with Antonio Banderas, who's amazing as an actor. And once you see his work, you understand how serious he is, how much depth he's got, and how many more movies he still has to perform in and still has to create, and how many more characters he's got living within himself that he's still not being, given yet. It's like, those actors that just they're so big inside of themselves that I feel like, wow, they're just they just tapped a little bit of what their capabilities are allowing them. Yeah, no, but it was just amazing to talk to. I've definitely learned a lot from myself, yeah.
Nice. Então, logo no início, ela disse que ficou com medo de machucar alguém, né? Porque ela trabalhou com muita gente, mas que, inclusive, participar de Os Mercenários 3 foi uma chance maravilhosa, porque todo mundo que entra, obviamente, no cinema quer conhecer, né, as lendas do cinema, e participando de Mercenários 3, ela teve a chance de conhecer todos eles ao mesmo tempo. Então, economizou tempo para ela. E ela disse que a participação, né, a chance dela de participar veio quando ela estava filmando na Sérvia, e o pessoal dos mercenários, eles estavam querendo uma pessoa lá do local, e eles estavam na Bulgária, e eles queriam uma pessoa que estivesse por ali pela área para o papel, eu acho que era de esposa do Mel Gibson, exatamente.
Isso,
E eles estavam fazendo audições. E ela, não, eu tô aqui ali pertinho, já chego, vou rapidão no fim de semana. Só que aí ela descobriu que não era tão perto assim. Que eram tipo 3 horas de voo e mais 6 horas de carro, então levavam 9 horas só para ela chegar até o local. E na cabeça dela ia ser assim, tipo, ela ia fazer a audição, eles iam dizer se eles queriam ou não, e ela ia embora, porque ela passava a semana filmando, ela estava fazendo um filme, então ela passava a semana filmando. Quando chegava no domingo, o pessoal, vem aqui de novo. E ela acabou tendo que fazer isso 3 vezes até o Stallone chegar lá e dizer, tá bom, vamos com ela mesmo. E ela ficou lá, tipo, aí persistindo, queria fazer o filme, queria o papel. E acabou que depois eles ainda adiaram um pouquinho a participação dela, e ela teve que ficar por mais 2 semanas por ali para até filmar. E depois ela menciona, né, que inclusive uma das pessoas que ela mais admira nesse meio é justamente o Stallone. Quase todo mundo conhece a história dele, né, de quando ele fez o Rock, porque e ela fala isso, que ele sabia exatamente o que ele queria, não simplesmente aceitou o dinheiro, ele que ia fazer o filme, toda aquela questão que a gente já conhece. E ele era aquela pessoa que ele acreditava no projeto, ele tinha a paixão dele e ele foi. Mas aí ela também cita, assim, ela fala, né, o quão poderoso é essa história dele, e que isso é poderoso para muitos artistas. Então ele é uma pessoa que passa isso para os colegas, né? Essa questão do acredita, né? Vai lá, você consegue. Diz que ele é uma pessoa muito criativa também, e que ele é um mentor para muitos artistas. Então, assim, ele é uma pessoa maravilhosa. Rasgou os elogios aqui para o Stallone. Também falou do Mel Gibson, porque ela conheceu ele, obviamente, estava no filme. Diz que ele é um diretor magnífico, assim, mas que quando trabalha com tanta gente incrível, é uma oportunidade única conhecer a história dessas pessoas, toda a persistência deles, como seres humanos, né? Pessoas que têm problemas também, mas superam tudo isso e estão aí. E, por último, ela falou do Antônio Bandeiras.
Uau!
Sério ele é sobre o trabalho dele, né? O quanto ele leva a sério o trabalho dele. E quanto tem tantos personagens que ele interpreta tão bem e que ele ainda pretende interpretar. Então, saber, né, conseguir conhecer todas essas pessoas ajudou muito, né? Ela aprendeu muito nesse processo.
Imaginamos.
Sim.
Faustino, pode escolher aleatoriamente, se for o caso.
Sim. A oitava, também na função de produtor e roteirista, que projeto foi mais desafiador para você e por quê? E eu vou aproveitar, colocar num gancho aí, não tá na pauta, o que ela prefere atuar? Ação, humor ou mais um drama?
Ela faz muito terror também.
Terror também.
Drama.
Ela já falou.
Já respondeu que ela prefere drama. Okay. But also as a producer and a screenwriter, which project was the most challenging for you and why?
The most challenging that I produced. I think that it would probably had to be the movie that I just produced with Antonio Banderas called Barracuda. It's coming out later this year. I think in October. That's what we're aiming for. That project took me 5 years to put together. And it's crazy because, like, when you think about it, if somebody came up to you and said, hey, you're going to do a project, but it's going to take you 5 years to produce. Are you going to even spend the time doing it? Are you going to waste your time doing it? I mean, that's a long time, like, if you think about it. But in the end, the problem with us producers and actors and living in Hollywood and just doing whatever it is that we do, we get obsessed with this idea of like, oh my God, I just want to make a movie. And then you make a movie and then you love it. And no matter how hard it is, no matter how many obstacles you had to overcome, no matter how difficult it is, I don't know why we're so stupid to come back and say, yeah, let's do it again. Yeah, totally. Why not? I mean, we're like, all kinds of stuff happens to you, and you practically don't even have, a life. And things like always come up. And like I said, the project that I was doing, it took me 5 years because there were so many things that would go wrong. And so many times it failed. And originally I had a completely different cast attached. And then there were things that happened with unions and then problems with of course financing and then distribution and then actors, and then eventually you start again and you start from scratch and you're like, oh, let's do it again, let's do it. And finally, when I got Antonio attached to the project, I was so thrilled. I was like, you know what, maybe that's the one, maybe that's going to happen. But even then I was skeptical because it fell through so many times that I was like, until it actually happens, I don't want to even talk about it. And so this time I didn't tell anybody, only a few people knew that I was making it. I didn't want to make it official until we were on set. And even that I was very, 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 very cautious because you never know. Things can happen, like sets can burn down and then you have to stop filming, which I know people that happened to. So it was very challenging, but I'm glad that I stuck to my guts and I wanted to make this movie, and I'm hoping that, people will like it. I hope you guys watch it, support it. It's a wonderful story. I mean, Antonio is amazing in it. It's a very dark thriller drama that I fell in love with the script. Peter Iliff wrote it, who wrote original Point Break and Varsity Blues, and he's great writers. That I was like, you know what, this is the movie that I want to produce. If there's anything that I'm going to take my time to make it happen, then that's the one. So I don't have any regrets. Of course, there's certain things that nowadays I'm not going to do, and hopefully I'm not going to take 5 years to make my next movie as a producer, but it's challenging. It's not easy. And I feel like whoever makes the movie, you know what, congrats to them because they made it. Because it's not easy at all. And to get it distributed and to get it into the theaters or for the world to see it, that's even harder. Yeah, we're not making movies for our moms to watch here. So we actually want somebody to appreciate all the hard work. So I can't wait for it to come out. And finally, that's when I can say, yay, I did a movie. Because even now, you know what? It's in post, it's coming out, but you know what? You never know. So
I see. Ok.
Perfeito.
Ela disse que o projeto mais desafiador foi justamente esse filme que ela acabou de produzir com o Antônio Bandeiras. Levou 5 anos entre o processo de escrever e produzir, e no meio desses 5 anos é um projeto que se chama Barracuda, e vai... Assim, está agendado, né, para sair em breve, para estrear em breve, mas ela disse que já no finalzinho ela falou que até agora ela ainda está receosa, e dessa vez ela nem falou para ninguém sobre esse projeto, porque às vezes você fica empolgado e aí começa a dar tudo errado, você acha que vai, não vai. Então, assim, ela escreveu e ela disse que nem sabe, porque... Por que os atores, né, e produtores inventam de fazer isso? Porque às vezes você dedica tanto tempo e do nada dá tudo errado e o projeto vai para trás. E aí depois você, ou às vezes dá certo, e aí você tipo, levou 5 anos para tirar esse negócio do papel e conseguir colocar ele no cinema. E aí você quer saber, vou passar por isso de novo, vou fazer outro. Mas no final das contas, assim, deu um monte de coisa deu errado nesse projeto também. Deu errado com o elenco, deu errado com o financiamento, com os sindicatos, enfim, ao longo de 5 anos, várias coisas mudaram. E aí, quando finalmente o Antônio Bandeiras entrou, ela disse, ok, eu acho que agora vai. Mas mesmo assim, ela ainda não disse a ninguém, mas ela está empolgada, porque está na fase final, está na fase de distribuição, já que também costuma ser desafiadora, né? Convencer as pessoas dos cinemas, até os streamings, às vezes, a aceitarem, quando não é um grande filme. E ela disse que é um suspense bem obscuro, assim, meio dramático, e ela quer muito ver, né, esse projeto nas telas e ver a resposta das pessoas.
Perfeito. E já tem notícia por Nerd Tatuado, né, por site,
Sim.
por Instagram, né, filme com Antônio Bandeiras, e ela já respondeu uma pergunta nossa que ia ser mais para frente, que é sobre o projeto, já está aí o projeto dela, no caso, que ela trabalhou e está aguardando ser lançado. Liz, eu vou fazer o seguinte, como a gente vai falar só de coisa boa aqui hoje, eu vou tirar, no caso, a parte triste da pergunta da 11, e vou, no caso, fazer a introdução com a 10, que vai dar certinho aqui, não vai ficar bagunçado para ti, não, olha só. Aceleração Máxima, Sobreviva à Noite, Em Nome do Rei, Entre Dois Mundos, são alguns dos filmes que ela esteve ao lado, por exemplo, do astro Dolph Lundgren, né, que é um astro de filme de ação, assim, que todo mundo ama. Né? Aí o que acontece? Na 11 a gente fala sobre o Bruce Willis, que também ela fez A Fortaleza e a sequência de A Fortaleza, O Olhar do Snipe, também no caso com ele. A minha pergunta em cima dessas duas, Liz, mudando totalmente o final delas, o que ela acha de fazer essas parcerias repetidas, de trabalhar com os mesmos colegas, com as mesmas pessoas, se encontrando, no caso, igual em sequência com Bruce Willis no mesmo filme, a Fortaleza 1 e 2, e no caso do Dolph, ela fez vários filmes com ele, inclusive alguns desses estão na Amazon Prime e no Globoplay, se alguém quiser conferir. O que ela acha de reencontrar os colegas nesses projetos aí?
Right, so you have worked in many movies with Dolph Lundgren, right? Like in Acceleration, Hard Night Falling, In the Name of the King, and also with Bruce Willis. You have also met him like several times. Yeah. What do you think? Do you like to meet your old colleagues again and work with them again? How do you feel when you like have the chance to participate in new movies with the same co-stars?
Oh, I love it. I mean, you know, they're the actors that go through own paths in life and their own growth. And so far, I don't mind. I like to see how people change, how people, you know, adapt. And it kind of like gives you a different take, because you're never the same, like, especially with movies. I mean, just time passes, and no matter how much you think, oh, but I don't want to be similar in this, so I don't want to be like, you know, I don't want to act the same with this person or whatever. Like, you're not, because of the circumstance and because of what's going on with you, you know, internally, and where you are at today in your current life state, you know, life and your situation. So I enjoy meeting actors again and working with them. First of all, I already have that relationship with them, so I already know certain things about them, and I think that always helps, you know, characters, unless they're supposed to completely not know each other, and even then, you know, it's about the work. It's not about how much you like this person, how much you don't like this person. You know, you got to deliver what your characters is required, and that's what you do. But I don't mind it, especially if I have a relationship with them, as, if I'm friendly with them, and if they, if we have fun on set. It's all about that. It's just about, being happy and doing what you love. And as long as you have fun on set, then, why not? I'll work with those actors over and over again. And we're always playing different characters in the end. So it's just fun to collaborate and see what else they've learned, what else they've understood about themselves, what else they've, how they've changed, how creative they've become, and it's different every time. Like, I've worked with Dolph now 4 times, and each time it was different. Every single time, like, it was different. It was, because he had different circumstances in his life that, that led him to be where he was. His ideas about me were different. The character I was playing was different. So we've been collaborating always in a different way. And it's always been fascinating because you always learn something new about them and about yourself, which is always interesting for me. So yeah, and same thing with Bruce Willis. I didn't have any scenes with him, unfortunately, during the time that I worked on 2 of his movies. But every time I did meet him, it was interesting because, unfortunately, I got to see him, his as you know, his disease progress, and him becoming more and more, unfortunately, incapable to remember certain things. But as a person, when I first met him, which was years ago, he was amazing, and he was so driven and so happy as a human being, always smiling. I remember he was actually even performing. It was during the Sin City 2 premiere, and he was on stage. He literally ran on stage with Robert Rodriguez, and he said, "I'm going to sing." And he performed, and he was singing, and he was amazing. Like, I was impressed. I was shocked. So that was the first time that I encountered with Bruce Willis, and he's just like, he was larger than life, like an amazing person, and just so friendly. So it's a shame what he's going through, and I want to send love in regards to his family, and of course to himself, and to him. And I'm so lucky and grateful that I even got to meet him and somewhat work with him and be a part of 2 of movies with Bruce Willis. So when those amazing legends go away, or they stop working, like, I feel like I missed something, because all those actors that I grew up watching, of course I want to be given an opportunity to work with them one day, and just to meet them and to actually see how do they become those amazing characters that we so much adore and so much love. So if I don't get to work with some of them, I just feel like I lost a little bit something. So I'm glad that I got to work with Bruce. Yeah.
Oh. Então, gente, ela falou que ela, na verdade, adora trabalhar, encontrar com os atores de novo, porque as pessoas sempre são diferentes, né? As pessoas estão sempre diferentes, mesmo que sejam até papéis parecidos, as circunstâncias em que eles se encontram são diferentes, as pessoas aprenderam mais coisas. Então, também facilita quando você já sabe algumas coisas sobre a outra pessoa, e aí você já sabe mais ou menos como trabalhar com ela, com a pessoa, mesmo que eu não goste, assim, não tenho muita afinidade, mas naquele momento é profissionalismo, né? Você tá ali para fazer um papel e vai fazer o papel que o seu personagem precisar. Então, mesmo que role alguma inimizade, assim, algum estranhamento, ela não se importa de trabalhar com uma pessoa de novo. Sempre foi diferente, as ideias das pessoas mudam, e sempre é interessante, então, aprender, né, sobre personagens, aprender o que as pessoas aprenderam também, porque você conversa, você tem muitos momentos no set de filmagem. E ela comentou sobre Bruce Willis, né? Disse que, infelizmente, mesmo nos filmes que ela esteve com ele, ela não tinha cenas com ele, mas que eles interagiam no set, e que, infelizmente, ela conseguiu, né, perceber assim, a progressão. Ela falou do problema, né, da doença dele, e que ela conseguiu ver a progressão disso, da dificuldade cada vez maior que ele tinha para lembrar das coisas, a dificuldade que ele tinha para trabalhar, até que ele resolveu realmente se afastar. E que isso deixou ela muito triste, porque assim, ela achava ele uma pessoa muito alegre, que ele era aquela pessoa que era a vida da festa, né? Que chegava nos lugares, chegava no evento, o pessoal estava fazendo, e corria pro palco, ia cantar, e animava todo mundo, e que ele realmente teve que se afastar. E que ela, assim, é muito grata por ter tive essa oportunidade de trabalhar e conhecê-lo, né? Mas que é muito triste que agora ele tenha que se retirar e parar de trabalhar.
Verdade. Olha, ela acabou falando o que a gente queria saber, né, Liz? E nem falamos e ela falou. Legal. Agora, Liz, você fala para ela, quando o Faustino vai escolher agora, a penúltima da noite, que a gente, no caso, demorou alguns minutinhos para entrar, a gente está repondo esses minutinhos, tá? Fala que é a penúltima que ele vai fazer. Escolhe aí, Faustino. Você vai falando para ela, Liz?
Oh, yeah, we are about to ask you our last questions.
Vou fazer a 9. E aproveitar, vou encaixar uma pergunta nossa, minha, né? Quais etapas são necessárias no processo após a escrita do roteiro até ser aprovado a produção para um longa-metragem? E, como ela falou, o Barriguda vai ser lançado... Barriguda vai ser lançado quando? Já tem data para o lançamento? E se ela quiser vir aqui para divulgar o filme, trazer a equipe para divulgar o filme, estamos abertos aqui.
Okay, so Faustino asked you already talked a little about this, but he asked specifically about the steps in the process after the script writing and until the production is approved for a movie. And also he asked about the date of release of Barracuda.
The date of when Barracuda will be released, I don't have an exact date. I know it will be most likely in October. That's what we're aiming for. It's in post-production right now. So I will definitely keep you, I'll let you know once it's done. You can guys follow me on Instagram. I usually, let people know, let my audience know, my fans, when things are coming out. So I'll definitely keep you posted, but probably October. And then the process of making a movie as an actor, as a producer, like, you mean what happens after the screenplay has been approved and what happens next?
Yeah, until after you, I guess, after you finish writing and until it's approved. As
an actor or as a producer, putting it together like a movie, or you mean, or what steps do I take as an actor? Like, what do I do?
Se a pergunta da produção é como produtora ou como atriz?
Produtora.
As a producer.
Producer, okay. I mean, that's pretty much master class to put it together. Like the screenplay, you obviously, like, you approve the screenplay, you have something that you want to, you have a story you want to tell, and to put it into simple words. I think the most important nowadays, sadly, is a star. You need to have a name that would believe in your project and in your script, and you have to, attach a big actor. The bigger the actor, the bigger the movie you're going to make. You have to have a solid director who believes in your vision, who shares the same kind of idea of how to make this movie and how to shoot it. You got to find a location, which a lot of the times nowadays people pick locations with certain tax rebates, which means whatever you spend, you get certain percentage back. And that's how you can, get your budget to be bigger, larger. The bigger the budget, of course, the more freedom you have to create something that the audience will enjoy. Because nowadays you're competing, of course, with projects like Marvel, which I can see behind you, you're a fan of. Obviously we're competing, with those tiny movies. Exactly, tiny films, but we can't explain those to our audiences that go to see the movie in the movie theater that, hey, Barracuda and Captain America are two different budgets. We're dealing with two different things here. But you guys are paying the same price to watch that film, and then you're judging us based on that and saying, why don't we have enough action? Why is my Barracuda actor not flying, like Spider-Man? Well, because we didn't have the money. That's simple as that. We didn't have the money. Our budgets are a lot smaller than that. And yet we're trying to satisfy the same kind of audience who goes and sees the same kind of action. And they're asking us, why is the action not as grand? Well, or why is our CGI not as believable? well, we didn't have the money to pay to those amazing CGI guys that do the job, and we didn't have the, you know, the time. We needed to make the movie faster, so we're competing always. And I think that's where hopefully the industry will start changing and understanding that you can't compare the huge, you know, Marvel movies with our small, you know, action movies. You have to somehow, you know, make the difference, at least make the price difference, because I think if the people who were going to watch this movie and paying, you know, not instead of like $15.99 or whatever the ticket price is right now, $20.99, $13.99, they would pay like $7.99, and then I feel like they won't be as pissed off and upset why they didn't get the satisfaction of having this big images flying everywhere, you know, and they'll understand and they'll be like, actually, for the price, it was pretty good. It wasn't bad. So yeah, so when we're making those kind of movies, we have to know that we have to satisfy the audience, and we have to have a specific strategy of what we're making, why we're making, what our audiences are, and what we want to achieve, you know. And in the end, once we do it, we have to let it go and say, you know what, we can't satisfy the whole world, but if I'm satisfied, if I know I did my best and I wanted to make this movie and tell the story, then that's all I can do. I'm moving on to the next one. So
Very nice. Então, ela disse que não sabe a data exata do lançamento, mas vai nos deixar atualizados. Provavelmente vai ser em outubro, mas ele ainda está em fase de pós-produção, né, e começar a distribuição. Ela disse que vai deixar, vai informar. E sobre a produção do roteiro, né, depois do roteiro pronto, duas coisas que você precisa de imediato são nomes grandes. Um ator grande, um nome grande para estar no filme, que acredite no filme, e um diretor, eu uso as palavras, um diretor sólido, que compartilha a mesma ideia que você do filme, né, que saiba como fazer a filmagem, porque é assim que você, com esses dois passos aí, você consegue o dinheiro, provavelmente, e que é difícil mesmo assim, porque eles competem hoje em dia pelo espaço no cinema com filmes da Marvel, com filmes da DC, que tem orçamentos muito maiores e é cobrado o mesmo preço no cinema. Então, assim, eles têm um trabalho muito maior para satisfazer a audiência. E tem a questão, ela falou a questão do local, assim, obviamente, quanto maior o orçamento que você tem, você pode ter mais liberdade para escolher o local. A gente sabe que hoje em dia tem lugares que têm incentivos, né, para os filmes serem feitos lá, e que eles retornam um pedacinho do orçamento, né, que você pagou, eles retornam, eles devolvem um pedaço dos impostos que você pagou. Então, quando você tem orçamentos maiores, você tem muito mais liberdade, você tem dinheiro para fazer os atores voarem pela tela, para pagar o pessoal do CGI, que a gente sabe que é caríssimo.
Exatamente.
E que ela acha assim, que se houvesse incentivo para filmes menores nos cinemas, ela gostaria que os preços desses filmes o preço do ingresso pudesse ser menor, né? Porque, afinal de contas, você está competindo com um estúdio como a Marvel e você vai pagar o mesmo valor para ver o Capitão América ou para ver o Barracuda, você vai fazer essa comparação. Mas talvez se o valor do Barracuda fosse menor, você não julgasse tanto o filme, né? E pudesse sair mais satisfeito. Mas que a preocupação deles é principalmente assim, saber exatamente o que eles estão fazendo, para quem é o filme, como satisfazer a audiência, que é a parte difícil também, porque afinal é dessa forma que você consegue financiar projetos novos no futuro.
Ok, right,
Sim.
Perfeito. A nossa última da noite, Liz, que eu vou fazer para ela, para a gente estar encerrando. Aí também, já que ela falou em grandes nomes, não vai dar para a gente aproveitar o restante da nossa pauta, eu deixo como dica aqui para vocês assistirem o mais recente trabalho também, um deles, né, que essa mulher trabalha demais, a Natalie, incrível, que ela é coprodutora executiva e também atuou no filme, gente, Vigaristas em Hollywood. E esse filme tem um trio inesquecível, Morgan Freeman, Tommy Lee Jones e Robert De Niro, ou seja, essa mulher está por trás dos bastidores, mandando nesses caras, para vocês terem ideia com o que a Natalie faz, né? Mas a última, ela não pode sair daqui, Liz, falar para ela, sem falar das experiências e aprendizados que ela teve com o cineasta chileno, no caso, e diretor Patrício Valadares, que ele tem uma peculiaridade nas obras dele, que é a violência extrema moderna, com um curioso detalhe de pouco sangue. Como é que foi atuar nesse filme de terror do Patrício?
Okay. And just to finish, Renato asked you to share your experience in acting in the horror films with the filmmaker and director Patricia Valadares, with the extreme modern violence and the curious details of very little blood in the scenes.
Oh my God. Patricia is actually funny, like, and he's a wild person. He's crazy, like in a good way. He loves classic horror. He loves, like, extreme things, extreme situations, to extreme scenes. He loves, lots of blood and gore and something that will make you cringe, like he's a true horror fan, and he makes movies for those audiences, for those fans. Specifically, he doesn't want to like sugarcoat anything. If he wants to do something, he goes all the way, and that's what I love about him. So if I was to do a horror movie, it's gotta be a horror. It's gotta be something that makes the audience say, "Oh wow, I got a full-on satisfaction with it." And I really liked working with him because besides making the film, and I enjoyed the part and all that, but what really got me going, which I loved, because I love horror movies myself. I enjoy watching them in general. But it's the atmosphere. We were flown to Chile. I flew to Chile to work with him on a movie called Downhill. And the atmosphere that we were in made it so much easier to work on that film because of where we were. We were like completely outside of the real world. We had no cars around. We had no stores. We couldn't really get out and go somewhere. We're living in those small cabins where we shot. That's where we lived, and we're all so close to each other that we could hear each other like practically like snoring at night. We all were given like these small cabins, and we stayed there for 3 weeks, and it created this really cool feeling of like, wow, I feel like I'm almost like a part of this film, like and we shot we didn't shoot in chronological order, but it still like felt like our characters were like merging into something, and we could see, like, I could see my scene partner becoming that part. And sadly, his part did not end well. So if you saw the movie, Bryce Draper, who was a good friend of mine, and unfortunately he passed away recently because he had some psychological issues, which is crazy because like his character was dealing with some dark secrets, and you could see and feel how the real person was almost like losing himself. And sometimes that happens to actors when they become too close to the characters that they're portraying. They can almost like get lost in that part, and sometimes it takes so long to get out. And I think maybe partially that's what happened to him. He found something really dark, which I believe, by the way. I believe in like spirits and all kinds of like connecting to the different, another realm and things that just like attaches to you, and then it takes you time to get it out. And because we're making a movie that was very, very deep and dark, and it had this subplot. If you watch the movie, it starts with one way and then it kind of goes into completely different, and the ending is something that you don't expect. That I knew that this actor was also like getting himself into this deep kind of like sense. But I enjoyed it. Like I like it because I guess my sense of awareness, I knew when to get out of certain things and how not to take certain things personal. And it's just kind of like portraying another character. But it is hard. It takes me always at least a week when I'm done filming something. It takes me a week to kind of like let that character go and never ever to think about that person again. Because you're still kind of like psychologically in that world, and you're still thinking like that. A lot of times you wake up at night thinking, where am I? What am I? And you're thinking of your own steps and your own actions as that character. And it stays with you for a while. Eventually you just kind of let it go and be like, okay, I'm done. But I liked working with him. Like I said, the atmosphere is what really, really made that movie and that experience so much fun. Because we had so many things that happened in real life that afterwards made it into the movie, and it was complete accident, which is always fun.
Yeah. Right. Então ela disse que na verdade adorou trabalhar com com o
Patrício Valadares.
Com o Patrício, diz que ele é uma pessoa muito divertida e muito aquela pessoa louca, intensa, mas que ele é realmente um fã de filmes de terror clássicos, então ele gosta de fazer esse tipo de filme, ele gosta de fazer cenas que faz as pessoas se encolherem, né? Aquelas cenas fortes, aquelas cenas intensas. E a coisa que ela mais gostou, assim, e ela também é fã de filmes de terror, mas que a coisa que ela mais gostou de trabalhar nesses filmes com o Patrício é a atmosfera que eles criam. Então, o Downhill, né, que foi esse filme que ela fez com ele, eles foram pro Chile, passaram, tipo, 3 semanas numa cabaninha lá filmando em cabanas, isoladas. Tava todo mundo tão próximo que eles ouviam um ao outro roncar durante a noite. E, assim, eles foram tendo essa proximidade, então foi toda uma atmosfera muito legal. Ela disse que, infelizmente, um dos colegas que ela trabalhava acabou falecendo depois de um problema, ele teve alguns problemas psicológicos, e era uma coisa até meio estranha, assim, porque o personagem dele também tinha esses problemas, então ela até acha que pode ter sido algo relacionado, porque ela mesma, quando entra no personagem, assim, às vezes leva 1 a 2 semanas depois de parar de filmar, até sair, né, conseguir finalmente esquecer aquela pessoa e seguir em frente. E que nessa experiência que eles estavam tão próximos, nessas cabanas, né, filmando, eles conseguiam ver, assim, os personagens ganhando vida ali, né, junto com os atores, mas que a experiência era maravilhosa em geral, que foi muito divertido, que foi um filme bacana, que teve muita coisa que entrou no filme que acabou acontecendo acidentalmente. Então, ela adorou a experiência de trabalhar com Patrícia.
Perfeito. Liz, no caso, fala para ela que a gente agradece de coração dela estar aqui com a gente, assim, foi uma noite especial, vê-la conversando, falando, foi algo incrível, e fala para ela, assim, no caso, que o Brasil está de portas abertas para receber ela quando ela puder vir, e que as nossas orações e pensamentos positivos estão também com o povo dela, com a nação ucraniana também. É isso.
All right, so we thank you very much, Natalie, for taking the time to talk to us. Brazil is open to you whenever you want to come visit.
Obrigado.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And well, always thank you. We hope everything goes well for you. And our hopes and prayers are there with Ukraine as well, because we all want that situation to
Thank you. Yes. I feel like it affected the whole world. So the whole world wants that to kind of just, take a piece, take peace, and then, yes. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy I have fans in Brazil. That's amazing. I've never been to Brazil. Now I have to come visit.
Please.
Love it.
Please. Fala para ela tirar pra gente tirar uma foto. Tem como, Liz? Uma foto agora para a gente despedir?
Já.
Beleza, ótimo. Então,
gente,
tchau, Faustino.
Eu quero agradecer, muito obrigado. Nathalie, muito obrigado. Foi incrível nossa live, conhecer você, ver o seu amor, a sua paixão, a sua dedicação ao cinema, ao filme, à produção também. E eu quero agradecer a vocês que estão assistindo, que vão escutar esse podcast, que sigam a gente, sigam a Natalie no Instagram, vai estar aí na descrição, a gente vai colocar. Sigam ela no Facebook, acompanhem o trabalho dela, que é muito maravilhoso. Gente, muito obrigado. E que a força esteja com vocês. Fomos! Valeu, galera nerd.
Bye! Goodbye! Good night!
Thank you, Natalie.
Bye!
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Estamos em off.
Oh, we're off.